welcome to the Horror Herald. This is a companion video to a video that we just did reviewing season 4 of Stranger Things. If you haven't seen that, please check it out.
Go check it out. It's long, but it's good.
It's good, and a lot of what we got to say about season 4 this episode, we probably won't retread again.
Yeah.
So if you want our in-depth view on that season,
season 4.
check out that video.
Yeah.
But hi, welcome to our ranking of the Stranger Things seasons thus far.
Thus far. Oh yeah, it's gonna be season 5.
Yeah, season 5 soon, 2024. But this is gonna be a bit hard to do, to be completely frank.
Yes.
We
have been debating, master debating for so long.
Master debating
for so long.
For the 3 and 4 spot. But you know what we have as our first favorite and our second favorite. We agree
on the top 2. The bottom 2.
We've debated over the final.
Leo has rewatched every season.
Yeah, well, kind of not all in one go, but I rewatched season 1 to 3. Actually, yeah, I've seen them at least twice or 3.
I've rewatched them years ago, but to like before season 4. Recently, I have not. I've not rewatched. So my opinions are what I remember and how the lasting effects of these seasons on me.
Yeah. And we're both kind of what we have at the bottom of our list. We love. First of all, let's just say this:
we love every season.
We love every season.
We're not one of those guys who go like that season is the worst. No, it may be the worst. But
this is best. This is best to greatest. I don't know. Yeah. This is like
it's good to
least
amazing.
Favorite to favorite.
We like every season.
Even the one at the bottom, we'll talk about. Yeah. I like some aspects of this one more than the season I have above of it.
Same. Yeah.
But we had to come to a middle ground.
We like. Yeah. I still don't know, but like we decided...
We came to a middle ground and we said this is going to be the one at the bottom. But anyway, we'll do it now.
Yeah.
So basically, we'll get straight into it. So we're going to go from worst to best, but not worst to best, but we're just going from least favorite to
most
favorite.
Yeah, favorite, yeah.
Sad to see this one so low, but we have to put this one there. Yeah. But our least favorite, and... this sucks, is season 2. Stranger Things 2. I'm going to call it Stranger Things 2. It sucks. How cool is that poster?
That's such a good poster.
Oh, man. We're going to do negatives first, I think, before we get to the positives. Is that okay?
Uh-huh.
Or do you want to do positives first?
No,
I think it might be best to do positives first.
Okay.
So then we can say why the negatives are putting it down.
Yeah.
First of all, should I start?
You start.
I just want to put this out there.
Uh-huh.
And this isn't got to do really with the show, but I love this. This is my favorite soundtrack of the entire show. Yeah. Like, I don't think everybody, and I'm sure some people do, but I like religiously listen to these soundtracks. Mm-hmm. Like, while I'm studying or writing, I'm listening to these soundtracks. And some of the tracks on seasons, Stranger Things 2, and when I mean soundtrack, I don't mean, you know, the compilations of songs. I mean the actual score that was done by, what is it? Kyle Dixon. It's not this one. I have it somewhere. Kyle Dixon and I think Michael Stein I think that's it. Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein. And basically, I love the score of this one, and it really helps every single scene. Some of my favorite tracks are, and I know this isn't really got to do with the season, but I just want to get it out of the way so we don't really have to mention it too much throughout again. But some of the songs like Eulogy or Walking in Hawkins or Soldiers, which is kind of that big ramp up, kind of like we're about to fight the Demogorgon's son, is great. And it's used throughout the rest of the show. So that's why I love the soundtrack so much. But I'm going to just get that out of the way because I know you're not really caring about the soundtracks, you're caring about the story. But that is one thing I just absolutely love about this. Do you want to do something about the story that you absolutely love?
I absolutely love the great expansion from season 1. It feels like an expansion from season 1. It feels very much like... It's also in its limitation, but it's also like... It feels like a natural progression. Yeah. It feels like a sequel.
Yeah, out of the
seasons... It's not doing anything massive. Well, it is, but it's not doing anything too expansive, but it's definitely natural next year. What would be the next thing they deal with?
It feels the most like season 1 compared to the other seasons. And that can be seen for some people as a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah. But to us, or to me at least, when I love season 1 so much, it's good to see something that feels like a somewhat natural expansion. Another positive I have for me is that this is where some of the best relationships are beginning to blossom.
That's the same with me.
Steve and Dustin.
This
is kind of where their pairing comes into it, where Steve is like peak babysitter, and I love all their scenes. They're some of the best scenes. Whether it's them walking down the railroad and talking about hairspray that was used, or them, even right before the prom, him, I'm Steve going, hey man, you got it.
Yeah.
I love that. Also, really great relationships blossoming, I think, between
Lucas and Max.
Lucas and Max. Yeah, definitely Lucas and Max, and Jonathan and Nancy. This is where it's kind of what you'll see through the rest of the show is kind of happening this season and relationship side.
Yeah,
and I think that's great.
I keep staring at this poster, going like, "Did we make the right choice?"
I know, it's such a good poster. What's another positive that you have about this season?
Another positive is Hopper. Hopper, I really like Hopper's his it feels like being like fatherly to Will and Elle, and like Elle's whole character arc. It's not my favorite, but it's probably like my least favorite Elle, but it's still good. But
I forgot that's a big relationship.
Hopper
and Elle. Yeah.
Like it's a good foundation, and it started off like him like keeping her in because it reminds me of his past. Reminds me of like how he lost his child, so was keeping her safe and locked up, and. I know, and Hopper's been investigating the newfound stuff of the plot of this season, and it just really feels like Hopper really had something to do on his own as well as Elle. Like every character had their little own thing and someone else.
Yeah, definitely.
That's good.
Speaking of characters, we're going to talk about. I love the new characters.
Bobby.
There's Bob, there's Max, there's Billy. Although Billy's an asshole, he's a great addition. And what's really good is they add a new character for each of the basically groups. So we have, the kids, we've got Max. For the teenagers, we got Billy. For the adults, we got Bob. And each one of their additions were great. Yeah. I love them. I mean, Bob is such a beautiful person, and it's sad when he goes. Yeah. But he was fantastic, and Sean Astin is fantastic as well, and it's great to have those kind of 80s references with him, and he was his own kind of Goonie, but I think he was great. Max, of course, is a great character from here on, and Billy is a threatening character, and threatening, I think, in a good way, I guess, but not in a good way, but like he suits it. He's not like threatening, oh, we hate him.
Sure.
There's also really great humanizing bits where his dad's an asshole, and we can see that. So he's a nuanced character.
I agree that he starts off. I wrote down on a negative and positive. Billy was okay. Because this middle ground for me.
Sure.
He gets better at the end when we see the nuance, but at the start it feels like they're doing the Steve, but with no redemption arc. But he was fine. If I got to choose to. Honestly, I kind of forgot he was in this season.
Yeah, well, I felt like I guess so. But
his biggest thing was last season. Was season 3.
True. But I do think he had some great bits in this season. Like although he was probably at most intense, strangely, even though he's him and the Mind Flayer gets possessed in number 3. I still think he's pretty intense in number 2. He's just a racist, but we won't get to that.
He's a bit of a racist. So that kind of.
I don't know. I think he just gets a good new dynamic, although he's maybe not the nicest character. I still think his introduction is pretty good. Mm-hmm. Do you want to say anything else? No.
Stephen Destin characters.
Should I?
Great. Oh, yes. Great finale. Probably one of my favorite finales.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Is that it? Oh. No. The Will's arc. I feel like this is the best Will arc we've had.
I love Will this season.
Yeah.
I know
Will the zombie.
Will Zombie.
Yeah, the Will the zombie. That's to call him because he's died and comes back to
life.
And he's bullied and people call him a zombie.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. I also. I know some people may think it's like a retread of the first season where something's wrong with Will or something. We had to help Will. I do love that kind of aspect of him being possessed and him being attached to the Mind Flayer and him seeing all these images, and I think that was such a cool, scary concept.
Oh, when he walks out of the arcade, that's one of my favorite shots of the whole thing. And when, fuck, dude.
Yeah, I just love. I generally felt for him, in those scenes where he's possessed and they have to turn the heat up and try to when he's losing his memory as well. That moments where
into a spy.
And I think that was such a great use of Will, where he wasn't just in trouble. He's also. He is the trouble to an extent, and that kind of was cool.
He's the spy. He's the problem and the solution.
There was so much emotional resonance with that, where they don't want to hurt Will, but Will is causing something bad that's going to happen. And although he isn't causing it, he is the spy. And I think that was such a cool dynamic. And I really love how scary Will can be when he's possessed, and
he doesn't like
gave me chills, and I think it was very. And there was some really funny scenes, when he's on the ground going like that, but
funny,
not funny, but that, oh,
funny,
not funny, but like sorry, not funny. Although I love at some of the shots, it's scary, and it's horrible, and I just love how Will is used this season. Another positive that I have, I think the Mind Flayer was kind of a cool villain.
Mind Flayer.
I like the Mind Flayer. I liked how he's using
my favorite
people.
villain, to be honest.
Yeah, one of your favorites.
I like him more than Vecna.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I just like how just such in the background, such like overwhelming, like seeing him in the distance.
Oh, and those scenes where like when Joyce is looking back at the videotape and can see Vecna in the video recorder, it's like it's just like dots or whatever like that. I also loved the drawings of Vecna. I love not Vecna, Mind Flayer. God.
Get your D&D right, man.
Sorry, I love the drawings of the Mind Flayer that Will does. I love when he drew the tunnels as well. I think that was a cool thing. While people may say that's a bit of a retread, I still think it's awesome. Yeah. And I really dig that kind of Mind Flayer stuff, and I thought it was just really cool. And also, because I'm nearly done with my positives, I just want to say I like the Halloween setting. I like Halloween.
Oh yeah, the autumn.
Although I don't think it was as on the foreground as possible, but that's fine. And I dug it. And I like the Halloween setting. I'm a Halloween fan, so I liked it. I like how Max came out with a Michael Myers mask.
Even though she had no idea who they were.
No, but I really like the setting, and I kind of like the feel of this season. And I think 11 has some cool moments in the season as well. Learning the backstory, learning about Jane. Not Jane, she is Jane. Learning about the mother. I think it was horribly dark, but it was interesting, and I thought it was cool. What other positives do you have?
I'm just trying to remember if... do I like this one more than the other one?
We may come back to this with a different
choice. Okay. That's probably
that's
all
positives. But let's get to the negatives. Should we get to the negatives? Before you
Nancy and Jonathan were cool in the little mission of like investigating like all that stuff. I kind of forgot what they really did, but I like that.
Murray was a bit creepy though.
Yeah, negative. I don't really like Murray.
Murray's
a bit weird.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. I was like, hey, you guys should do it to a bunch of teenagers.
I have a bed. Fucking have sex.
Yeah, why are they staying over at Murray's? That's a bit weird.
It's kind of weird.
I didn't put that as a negative, but I
didn't put it as a negative either.
More that I think about it, it's like, I kind of feel that.
Yeah, I feel like the reason why I don't remember this season as much is because a lot of the plot points, not a lot, like some of the plot points that happen in this season just kind of like, it doesn't feel like a single season because it branches so much from season one, while season one feels like it could be its own thing. But I just feel like it not relies too much, but it's so much of season one that in this season it's just I don't remember this one as much, and like it doesn't really continue into later seasons. It's not really a gripe on this season, but it kind of makes me not remember it as much because the Upside Down coming in, the Dusty Mind Flayer, it just, I don't know, just something about it that just is not as like grinds in my memory as much as other seasons. It was really dark and it was really like, I really enjoyed it, but just it didn't have like season one like had like the good cinematography. This one had the similar cinematography. Season 3 and like 4 had like amazing cinematography. This one just had nothing too special about it. That's not too different from season 1 or that gets continued into later season. This one feels like a foundation season where like we get all the foundations of our characters, we get the foundations of everyone, but doesn't stand on its own. Or is that even true? I don't know. It just feels like...
I don't know about that. But
I know. It just feels like...
it's
not as memorable.
It isn't as vital to the rest of the show.
Yeah.
As you know, other stuff is. But at the same time, it is. But
also it's not. And like plot points happen, like Upside Down coming in, but we're doing that again. It feels like this season isn't as remembered in all of the show. And maybe if we did this review and I rewatched all of it, maybe I'd love it. But it just feels like all the things that have happened in this season are being redone in later seasons. Because it feels like no one's really engaged with this one as much as other ones.
One negative I have, and this is kind of like an overarching negative, and this is probably going to lead to many conversations, but that we're talking about. But it did feel a little bit to me when I first watched the show to be a bit of a retread of season 1. Although I love that it was continuing the kind of theme and the kind of like the kind of feel of season 1, a lot of the plot points just kind of felt the same to me. Like it felt like season 1, but we have a massive budget and we know we're popular this time. Like,
Yeah,
we know we're
yeah,
popular.
yeah,
and
yeah,
the show
yeah.
kind of felt like we know we're popular now.
We know
so we're gonna do
what's
this
gonna do
stuff.
well.
Instead of
yeah.
it being kind of like nuanced, it's like we know
Yeah.
we're popular, we can do this stuff. But like, for example, instead of Demogorgons, we now have Demodogs.
That's exactly what I wrote. Literally
yeah,
exactly
it's like
what I wrote.
we have Demodogs. It's like, okay, cool. 11's
Yeah.
gonna close the gate, but it's gonna be more epic this time. She's
Yeah.
gonna be, flying up and closing the gate
Yeah.
like before. I don't mind this one because I do like the Will plotline, but it felt like Will's in
Yeah.
trouble again. Like it felt like
Yeah.
a lot of the same, but like we're gonna do it bigger now because we know we're popular and we not popular, but like we have the budget now and
Yeah.
we can do it. But it felt like a lot of the main points of the season kind of felt like a retread of season one.
I think that actually goes into it, how I don't have that many deep negatives of the season specifically. It's more of just the whole season. It kind of just goes along simply. It is no like other seasons have high points and low points. This one just feels consistent but doesn't stick in my head because it feels so similar and has same attributes. So I feel like that's why it's the lowest, even though I love it. I really do love this season. It's not.
Yeah, it has, and also the tone of the season doesn't really help it either. Like it feels like a kind of darker tone where although there's fun moments that don't really stand out too much because a lot of it is just kind of dark and depressing to me, and I feel like everyone's kind of on their own, and I've seen people describe it as like the Empire Strikes Back thing they were trying to do, where people were like splitting off doing their own thing. Although people say it's like the Empire Strikes Back, I do think season 4 is probably more like an Empire Strikes Back.
But everyone says it's the Empire Strikes Back. They say season 3 is the Empire Strikes Back. The Duffer Brothers even said like,
really?
I feel like every season past season 1 is the Empire Strikes Back.
It's all an Empire Strikes Back, and then season 5
and then
is
season
just Return
5
of the
is
Jedi.
So I feel like that's like it feels like every season is trying to be that big season, but this one just didn't hit.
But
it
I guess
much.
this one did feel a little bit like it because everyone was kind of split off, and they're not their usual friendship groups, especially with like Dustin being with Steve and whatever like that. But it's alright. It's not that big of a deal. I feel like season 3 is probably more like the group aren't together.
Yeah.
But yeah. Do you have another negative, or should I go?
I have another one. Episode 7, not a big negative. I don't hate the episode, but it feels like wasn't placed very well. The pacing it interrupts the pacing.
Yeah,
episode 7.
The Lost Sister.
The Lost Sister.
I agree.
It's a fine episode. It dives deep into some stuff that I would enjoy, but even the creators were like, we didn't know where to put it, so they put it there.
Yeah, I didn't hate the season at all. Like
I don't hate it at all.
Season. Sorry. Episode. Sorry, I didn't hate that episode too much, but I totally agree with you. This was one of my notes as well. Is it did feel out of place in the season, and especially right before the finale. Yeah, it felt very disjointed.
I felt like it would have been better if it was like maybe earlier on, so the reveal of Elle coming back would have been more like, oh, no, like we just.
And it also felt like we were watching a completely different show because it was now in the city, not in that kind of urban environment. So it didn't. It felt like it felt more into the idea that this is now a bigger show and we know it. Although I kind of like that kind of smaller.
Maybe they should have like split up the episode in like parts throughout the season.
Like I don't know. I don't
know.
Don't get me wrong. It had some important bits. You know, 11's figuring out her bars. She's knowing how to harness her power. It's important, but it did feel out of place, and it did not really feel the fit the kind of feeling of this of the season at the moment. I'll move into one. Not everyone's going to agree, and I remember having an argument with Louis about this, but because you didn't love Mike too much, and you were happy that he wasn't a focus this season. But I remember talking to you about it. But basically, a while ago. But for me, I really feel like this is the start of Mike's character being kind of butchered up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I loved Mike in season 1. That is when he was the heart of the group. You know, in season 4, they keep on saying, you're the heart
of the group, man.
Yeah, season 1, Mike was.
He doesn't really do anything anymore.
Season 1, Mike was. But season 4, Mike, no, he's not the heart of the group. So, but I hated this season because a lot of the season he was whiny and he didn't have a purpose. He did nothing for the entire season. I loved Mike. He was like one of my favorite characters. I remember doing a test going like, which Stranger Things character are you? And when I got Mike, I was like, hell yeah. Because I loved Mike. Yeah. And he really had nothing to do this season. He had bits where he was like moping around about 11, like, 11, can you copy? And he did come up with like I think a concept towards the end where he said, hey, I think Will is controlling this thing, and he did have a purpose towards the end, but he really had no purpose for. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm readjusting my stand.
Okay,
keep going.
So yeah. But basically, this is the start of Mike not being very useful in Stranger Things from then onwards. And I hate that because I like Mike.
Yeah,
but from then on, he just doesn't.
Dustin is smart. He has Steve. Lucas has Max and his own thing.
Line. But like from this
everyone else, Mike just is like, L, I love you, man.
That is it.
Like,
that's all he becomes for the rest of the show, and it sucks. Because I loved Mike.
I remember this. Actually, I do remember talking about this.
I love Mike. And it sucks that he's sidelined so much. And the reason why I'm more mad about it is because he's sidelined for the rest of the show from this way onwards. And this is the start of it in season 2. And I hate that.
I feel like Mike looking back at this season, there was a lot of stuff that happened where it's like, oh, it could have been. That's another thing. The potential, a lot of storylines were made and just didn't reach that big potential it could have been.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's all I really have to say about this. We probably should move on to the next one. Next one, so above that we do have Stranger Things 3.
The poster isn't as cool. But, it's still cool.
It works better as, portrait than landscape. Yeah. But, season 3. So, we settled on this one. It'd been our third one. It's still a great season, and there's ways it does deserve it. On rewatch, I didn't love it as much. But I remember I still had so much fun with it, and it's just such a fun season. Yeah. But we'll get to the positives first. Do you want to start off?
I enjoy branching off season 2. I enjoy the new tone, because if they kept going with the dark tone, I feel like it could have gotten a bit old, and I feel like it's trying to repeat season 1. This one felt like it's a new thing, new tone, new not new characters. What kind of new characters? But new everything, and I felt like a new part of the show. We're going to the shopping center. It's they're going to see Day of the Dead. It's like, oh, we're getting a new thing. Cinematography, the budget is being put into places where it's needed, like a bigger sets.
Yeah,
and I feel like that just made it good.
Yeah, it's a really fun and funny season, and it definitely feels like a refreshing take on Stranger Things. Yeah. It's a big blockbuster. It feels like a blockbuster movie, and if you watch it like that, it's perfect. I feels like I'm watching an 80s story made in the 80s. Although, it's made now, and there's some kind of probably smart elements about it. It did feel like I was watching an 80s movie, and that was really good about it, and I think they really pulled that off.
Yeah.
Right at the gate, we should probably just talk about we love the new characters.
Robin, great.
Susie was fantastic.
Susie was great. We enjoy
the mayor.
We enjoy the mayor
because it's Saw Boy.
It's Saw Boy.
And also he's from the Princess Bride, and how can you not love the Princess Bride?
He's Saw Boy.
Princess Bride.
Also, Saw 7 Boy.
Saw 7 Boy. But the new characters are great, I think. And Alexi, we can't forget about Alexi.
Oh yeah, he was fun.
Slurpy Boy.
Like a Slurpy Boy.
He wasn't my favorite.
No, but he was good.
Fun. And his sad death was very sad.
Good job, Leah.
I meant to say death was very sad, but I said sad
death
out of my mouth.
Was very sad.
No.
I agree.
No, it was sad. But the new characters, for the most part, were good, I felt. I still think season 2 probably had the best.
I think all of them were good.
I don't like the Terminator guy.
We'll get to that.
I really don't like the Terminator. We'll get to that. So love the new characters, and Robin, of course, is a standout.
Yeah.
And Susie, and they really add to the show. What else did you want to say as a positive?
I loved the body horror. This one felt like it's starting to get into less sci-fi horror and more just horror, like getting into the horror gore into it. And I loved that one episode when they're in the hospital, and it's also an homage to Halloween 2. But the episode, and they're being chased by the guys, and it's the great cinematography and the meat monster. God, there's just so much of this season is just like, I loved so much. This one is the most highs and lows. This one is just like, I love so much and I hate so much about this season. This the reason why it's above season 2 is because I remember is so much more of it. It makes me like scream or make me like remember that moment. I feel like season 2 was more like overall it was good, but this season it made me like, even though I probably have more cons of this season, I just feel like it the gore and the horror and the new plot and the new monster, Misa like.
Yeah, I think the horror is great as well this
Yeah.
season. Of course, the CGI is fantastic, and I
Yeah.
agree. In that scene in the Memorial Hospital, that's where I was like, oh,
Oh,
shit, this
God.
show is getting
Yeah.
dark and kind of
Yeah.
cool. Especially when they hit the guy when I think I
Yeah.
don't remember if it was
The boss?
Jonathan or Nancy who hit someone with a fire extinguisher in the face.
Jonathan.
That was violent and it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was.
I just love like, also I loved, this is such a small thing, I loved when Jonathan and Nancy have been berated and the guy kicks and then the tripod tilts. Oh, it's good filmmaking.
Yeah, I agree. That was really good. What I like about the season is that I feel like it did a great. Well, season 2 did expand parts
Yeah.
of Stranger Things to like 8, and I think that was good. And Jane, 11 and Jane and that kind of storyline
Yeah.
and who the Mind Flayer is. I think what season 3 did really well, it was expanding, Stranger Things as a big worldwide possible threat.
Yeah.
Not Stranger Things, but the Upside Down with Russia as a threat, and it really opened up the scope and the threat of the Upside Down. And I love the tie-ins with the Cold War as well, because that was kind of during the time. And although there was parts of that was a bit cheesier when it was shown, I think season 4 probably did that a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate how they expanded the scope of it's not just Hawkins that could be affected. It could be the whole world because of the Cold War.
Yeah.
And I think it was very interesting that way. And I thought it was cool, although it was done in a bit of a cheesy way. But that's how the tone
I felt like this season felt like it's cheesy, but we're going for it and we're committing with the kind of cringy, like kind of like going for that kind of feel. And I overall enjoyed it. I feel like it was very good.
Yeah. And can I do one last positive before we? Oh, do you
I
have more
got
positives?
a bit more. You can go.
Oh no, then no, you go.
Okay. I'm just gonna say the sauna test episode was brilliant. Billy being possessed and going and being the Mind Flayer, finally giving the voice to the Mind Flayer, which is now Vecna. I think that was like said now Vecna was actually saying those lines
there you go.
or something. I don't know.
Maybe Vecna's controlling the Mind Flayer.
Yeah, something like that. I just find that interesting. But then why was it? That's a different point. Then I felt like that was really interesting. It gave Billy more to do. I felt like it gave a lot more characters more to do. I enjoy Hopper being angry the whole time. That's one of his negatives.
I enjoyed it the first time, and then I rewatched it and I was like, oh.
Maybe I'll hate it the second time. But I remember watching it and loving it because I felt like...
Oh, no, there were some moments that were really funny when he's angry.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. But there was some stuff that he did I was like, oh, that's a bit dickish.
Yeah, of course. I do think he's a bit too dickish, especially to Joyce. But I kind of just... I kind of just love it, man. I kind of just...
Sure.
I just love how it was a bit more bombastic. Like Hopper... like telling Elle, gonna tell Elle about his feelings, and then Mike pisses him off, and he's like, "Your grandma, she's in the hospital."
It was funny.
And then
it was funny.
And then like he rides off. Like there's so much stuff that if I just separate my brain, like criticism brain, and go like, "That's a bit mean," bit mean. I'm like, but if I just my big monkey lizard brain and just go like, "That's good. I find this fun," even though it's not as good as writing and all that stuff. I remember this season the most because it has the most memorable things about it.
Sure. Also, what I really loved about this season, and this is, for me, this is probably my favorite, besides maybe season 1, I don't remember too much. This has got my favorite, I think, finale. Yours was season 2.
Yeah.
Mine was 3 because it felt an awesome ending. Everyone's storylines worked. I love the whole Susie thing.
Yeah.
I loved how they pulled punches this season. At the very end, 11 loses her powers.
Yeah.
At the very end, Hopper seemingly dies. This finale felt like a really well done one. And this is when they made it like a film length, although it probably wasn't 2 hours, 20 minutes.
No, it was before, like a good length.
But it felt really well paced. And I remember because I watched it with my family during a thing we called 80s Day where we dressed up like with the 80s and whatever. And it was such a fun time watching it with my family and just watching it. And it was... I think it's just a really well-made finale. I think people have their time to shine. Yeah. And I think it's just... my favorite finale at the moment, I think, of the entire show. But yeah, I think it was great.
I like just quickly again Jonathan and Nancy's like thing, they're discovering all that
great
stuff.
Great chemistry. There's conversations they have about
and like talking about like he can't lose this job because he needs the money for his family while she's being harassed and like and being like treated badly because she's a woman in the workforce, but like he can't support her because he needs the job. It's great drama, great character drama. I loved Elle and Max together. I thought Elle was really fun. She was being independent, but a lot of that stuff kind of is in my negatives. But I feel like I liked her being independent and trying to find her own now and not relying on the past. A lot of the other seasons are like, oh, her past defines her, but this season is more like, no, she's defining her now.
Yeah.
Like, who is she right now? Who is Jane Hopper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, should we move on to the negatives?
Yeah.
All right, so
I actually
go
don't have that
first.
many negatives.
I have a list of them, but they're just paragraph like each negative. So they're not that long.
You go.
Okay, I'll get this out of the way so we just argue. I don't really like the Russian Terminator dude.
I thought he was funny.
he felt really simple and bland to me. Like, I didn't like him that much. And he feels really silly and just didn't fit into Stranger Things to me.
But he's right there.
Where?
Under the fun
shit,
fair.
that's it. Yeah, so what? Like,
I just felt like
he's funny because like they're doing like 80s. They're taking like 80s inspiration and it's kind of fun with the cheesy stuff. But I didn't seem that really important, and
I just felt like
really kind of cheesy.
He was to give Hopper and Joyce like stakes.
They just gave them. It was there for scenes for Hopper to beat the shit out of someone.
No, I felt, it was like there was there's an unstoppable force meets Hopper's immovable object. It was like Hopper needs to keep moving because of this threat. Yeah. Like if Hopper didn't have this guy, he would just be like, his storyline would just be like very like mundane, like not mundane, but very slower. But I feel like even though he's not the best character, I just feel like he was needed to make Hopper and Joyce's storyline a bit more fast paced.
Can I continue on to that though? Yeah. I think one thing that I think was a little bit weak this season, not bad by any sense of the means, was the adult storyline to me.
Sure. Yeah.
I felt like I kind of forget really how important they were to the plot, but the whole thing about, magnets fell off the fridge, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But I felt like, oh, okay, Joyce is going crazy again. We'll do something with that. And
they made the teacher though.
True, and that's the last we see of him thus far, except for that one bit in a flashback in season 4, which was just like a clip.
Yeah.
But I felt like they weren't super important because I really don't remember what they really contributed to the plot besides
turning off the gate.
Finding about...
They turned off the gate.
Did they turn it? I know at the very end when they entered the facility and they got help from
pretty much they steal Alexi and they need to get information on
about
on what's the massive force of energy that's making magnets fall. And
to me,
they need to get a translator They need to get a translator.
I don't hate it, but it didn't feel as important as the West, and I just felt like I didn't love the bickering constantly with Joyce and Hopper.
Sexual tension, baby. No,
and I didn't. And Murray, as per usual, was a little bit of a pervert, but he was better this season than he was in season 2. But still, it felt very not toxic, but it just that relation, all the stuff, it made me kind of feel icky, and it works in season 4 because they reference stuff, but I don't know, it just didn't feel as important to me, and I didn't love it too much. Okay, do you have a negative?
I feel like also the new style kind of goes maybe a bit over the top sometimes, but that's kind of goes with the charm. But Erica, you can't spell America without Erica. That's funny, but I feel like she kind of like goes along with the ride a bit. With one of my least favorite storylines is the middle part of Dustin, Steve, and Robin when they infiltrate, and it kind of turns into like, what is happening here? What are we like a James Bond storyline?
It is a bit cheesy.
It's like, this is a bit cheesy.
No one saw them enter the facility.
Yeah,
and it's
Erica.
Like,
look, Erica's a bit too much of the comedy relief.
It felt
in this
like
season.
a bit like that kind of.
I did like her, but
squad, facing
I like
evil
the beginning.
head on.
I like the beginning when they hear the music in the tape,
Of
and then I
course.
love that, and I love the ending where Robin comes out to Steve and Dustin does that whole ending when they separate at the end. But just that middle part, I just like.
Yeah, it did feel kind of cheesy, and it kind of made me not feel the stakes of the season when they were able to enter a facility.
Yeah.
Not be seen by guards and be able to take them head on.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me not treat the Russians as seriously as I probably should have treated the Russians.
Yeah.
And while I didn't hate it because it was fun, it didn't feel as serious. And when something as serious as like season 2, when that stuff happens, while it's fun, it's kind of cheesy and not always. It's kind of a little bit hard to treat seriously as I would treat something else.
Yeah.
Not that it isn't fun, and you know what? It is fun, and I can't deny I didn't have a fun time watching them go into a Russian facility, but
Yeah.
I couldn't treat it seriously because of that. Do I go?
Do you want to go?
I'll go. I'm gonna just quickly mention this. Yeah, again, kind of Mike wasn't great this season, and this whole relationship dynamics. Well, I loved because I loved Will's kind of plot line where he's like
feeling alone.
He's
feeling
feeling alone, and he smashes up the buyer's house, house, whatever. Not buyer's house,
buyer's
but,
hut. Yeah, the hut.
What are they called? It was great, but I didn't love a lot of the drama the kids had with each other.
I wrote down to quote. Kids' drama can go fuck itself.
Because there's so many moments where the kids could have said something and it would have ended the argument.
Yeah.
There's so many times where they could have gone like, if they were truthful to one another, going like, hey, Hopper did this and whatever like this earlier.
Yeah. Because
all
like
of this
Hopper
could have not been there.
Hopper stopped Mike at the beginning, but later on in the season, Hopper's busy. Mike can do anything.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
and also I get Mike's acting a little bit like a prick this season as
yeah.
well.
I felt like the
treating
kids
Hopper
kind of
like
acted
nothing.
unnaturally. Kind of like Lucas was like, "Girls, they're a different species," and I was just like, "Shut the
It's
hell
funny,
up.
it's funny, but like on the same
They were
time,
fighting a lot.
Yeah, it's this season really felt, but yeah, it was
The kids' plotline is probably one of my least favorites. Not Elle and Max. Elle and Max is fine, but even they had some cringy moments where.
Yeah.
No, like I just feel like the kids' drama, maybe it is relatable to some people, but for me, I just don't like watching it. Like, sure, I can relate to some of it, but I don't want to watch it on TV. It's not compelling like Mike and Eleven in season 4. This is not compelling because I'm just like, just get over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have another negative?
I
can move on to one if you don't have anything.
with its presentation and added.
Should I go?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Although I didn't hate 11 in the season, I thought she was great. There were so many moments in the show where 11 solved a lot of the problems. Like she was, for me, out of all the seasons, this season she felt a bit like a plot device. Not that she was bad, and she had her uses, which was great, but there were so many moments where they're like fighting Billy or whatever like that, where it's just 11 who's stopping everything, saving the day constantly. Yeah. And I would have loved the kids to do a little bit more than just stand there and watch 11 go at it.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like, although that's great scenes with 11, like the action's great or whatever, and I like at the end that she loses her power. Yeah. A lot of it, I just felt like, I want the kids to be more into the fighting instead of just 11 having to go, I'm going to solve this, I'm going to solve this, I'm going to push Billy away.
Definitely the kids get better at the season finale when they throw the
without a doubt. But that was great. And that's starting when she's losing her powers. You can see her like she can't crush a goat can. Goat can. Goat can. But I just felt like, okay. And there was I don't know. Actually, I don't have too much to complain about that. Yeah. I'll quickly do a bunch of ones I had.
A bunch?
Guys, we're going to move on to the next one. I really wish they did something with the invasion of the body snatcher plotline. I get. Oh yeah. I get they couldn't really, and it'd be a bit hard to do. Yeah, but I was excited at the prospect. In that opening scene where there's like a horde of people with Billy looking at normal Billy, evil Billy, and talking about like we're here for you or whatever like that. I was like, oh cool. And when people are getting possessed, I was expecting like a big, not fight, but I was expecting something to do with them. But when they went into kind of like the underground place and started just melting away to become a big flesh monster, I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah, sure.
And I felt that to be not cheesy, but I kind of felt that like, oh man, I wish I did more
Lost potential.
with it.
Yeah.
They still did some good stuff with it. Like I love the whole, is it Heather, the lifeguard?
Billy and Heather,
Billy and Heather, when Max was like over 11 and Max were over, and
they spy on him. Yeah.
And I like how the Heather's father, head of the newsroom, was possessed and acting all weird. I like that, but I wish they did more with the body snatchers idea. But that's a personal preference. I still, for some people, that may be enough. Great, but for me, I would have loved a little bit more of that.
It was enough, Leah.
I want to see if there's anything
pressing. No, we need the next one. No. You dying?
Let's move on to the next one.
To the next one.
All right, number 2, baby. Season 4. That's right. Best season since the original. It may be kind of
long
because
it's newer.
Because it's new. But
I just love this season.
Yeah, it's great.
If you want to listen to our deep discussion, go watch the episode. And if you already have, you already know why we like this season and what the home. But overall,
we might not talk too much in depth.
No, not at all.
Because watch the review.
Yeah.
But basically, it was
best in season.
Since
season 1, you know what's number 1
because there's great mysteries.
Yeah, great mystery, great villain.
Great scenes.
Great drama.
We love Eddie. He's fantastic.
Love Ellie. Great drama.
Vecna is a great villain.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much more lore that's important to the show now
yeah.
that's been established.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And the action, while there's a lot of CGI, although towards the end of it I felt a little bit, burnt out by how much I'm watching.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of it was used well, and I think it's impressive how much they could tell in this season.
Yeah.
Although they did have the extra one time, it was impressive how well connected. And yes, they had a better writing environment than before.
Yeah.
But it was just a very impressive season.
Yeah.
Every character, to an extent, had their time to shine. To an extent. But
Mike.
Mike is.
Mike.
He had his great monologue.
Jonathan.
But Jonathan. But I still think Jonathan had a little moment to shine, with the speech of Will. But he
Yeah,
didn't do
but
anything.
Mike did technically more if we're comparing.
But I don't think it would ever be a masterpiece of a series because I still feel burnt out by the rest of it. But it's still
Volume
great.
2 is definitely limits it. Episode 9 limits it.
Yeah, we might as well just say the finale because
The
I
finale
love
limits
Papa.
it. Yeah, the finale limits it definitely. It definitely probably my least favorite finale.
But it's just impressive how great it is. It's fun. It's also mysterious.
It's funny. It's got great moments.
It's scary. Great new characters.
Great
Great horror.
Great horror.
Great gore.
But we already talked about that. Leah.
Great cameos. Yeah,
we already talked about it.
We talked about it. So
go.
I'm sorry. It's great. Definitely check out a review of it. It's probably going to be pretty long, but definitely check it. It's worth your time. Yeah. But we're going to move on to our number one. And what could it be?
What could it be?
How could we not?
How could we not?
It's Stranger Things. We don't want to say season 1, but we're going to call it Stranger Things 1. I love this.
Oh, boy. I remember. I feel like just it came at the right time. I watched it in the hills.
Yeah.
It was in the woods.
It was perfect. Yeah. I mean,
man.
It was so good. It was so good.
Did you go pros and cons?
We will.
Yeah.
But I think this is like one of the shows where it's like a perfect series of television.
Yeah. This one could just be a standalone.
If it could, and I find some people, and I think you and me both agree that we don't like it when people go like, "Oh, they shouldn't have continued it.
Yeah,
it's so bad."
I'm like, fuck you. I love other seasons.
But I do agree that like if this was just a one season, my God,
it would be great.
What a way to.
Way to go.
What a way to go. But it's just beautiful. And it's also kind of hard for me. When I wrote down my positives and negatives, it was hard to generally, although I did come up with positives and negatives.
It's hard to pinpoint.
It's hard to pinpoint because, I feel so connected to this. We were around the age of the children, when this came out.
Yeah.
And it connected to us. I think this came out when I started first getting into horror. You got first into horror.
Yeah.
So
this monster scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Demogorgon? Damn.
And I just don't know. I mean, the soundtrack, I'll get to that. It all so just is a beautiful work of art. And that sounds so cheesy saying work of art.
It is. I think season 1 is.
But we'll get to our positives and negatives. Do you want to start off or should I?
I just feel like the simple cinematography in this season, obviously didn't have the bigger budget, but I've rewatched scenes with Eleven and Papa, and there's this one scene where they're sitting in, like she's sitting on a bed and it's such a claustrophobic scene. I just feel like the simple cinematography works with this season. The bigger cinematography of later season would not work with this season. I feel like this season just had its own tone and own feeling, and I just feel like it does really well with that and soundtrack as well. But you can,
Yeah, definitely. I'll just talk about the soundtrack as you're talking about it. It has an amazing score by Kyle Dixon and Michael Steen, which really elevated every scene. It was a beautiful kind of like synthy techno sounds to it. I bought the soundtrack on vinyl because I loved it so much, and it's got that really beautiful kind of 80s but joyous sound to it. And there's some tracks in it, like I don't know the name of it, but it's the one where the Demogorgon goes like dom 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 dom, which was great. And it
plays in my head.
I remember like playing that song when we were out of the golf course, playing a Spotlight, and I'll play that song while I'm chasing after my friends. And
this season just connects to me.
It connects on a kind of nostalgia level like no other season. But I'll get to like a proper positive. This season, unlike many others, really nailed expressing an unraveling mystery. And it was like mystery first. They put that first instead of expressing a massive scale, monsters, whatever. They first focused on the mystery. And of course you have to with the first season.
Because we don't know. And that definitely benefits it.
And we don't, they don't have the budget to do a big scale thing. but it just first like really worked well at telling a mystery, and it was nuanced and it was perfectly contained, and it was great at just keeping you hooked that way, to wanting to follow this mystery rather than going, oh, I want to see them fight some monster called the Demogorgon. It was the mystery of what it is, the Upside Down. That
this made me love the mystery, made me want more mystery, even though it's kind of a benefit of hindsight how this season didn't have any foundation, so it made its own foundation. It made its own new discovery. I just love the new wonder and unknown discovery of what is this? What is the Upside Down? Who is the bad man? Who's Papa? Who is 11? All these things just are never the same because you can't just do.
And it kept you hooked, and it was only 60 minutes per episode, yet it still kept you hooked. And it was it's great. Another thing that I really loved is that it had beautiful messages with it of like friendship over hate and beating the bullies, and it introduced a lot of people to D&D, which is good. Did it introduce you to D&D?
It
introduced us to D&D. He's more of a D&D fan than I am.
Critical Role, baby.
But I remember watching the show, and I was like, I remember all of us saying, hey, should we get D&D? Okay, I'll get it.
He was our first dungeon master.
I attempted dungeon mastering without reading any of the manuals, so I was bad at it.
How do you think I went as a dungeon master when we did that one shot?
You're great, Lou. Don't worry. You're fantastic. Okay, cool. But yeah, and it's great. And every time I watch it, I'm like, ooh. Do I go back to try to be good at D&D again? Maybe I'm going to try to learn how to do actually D&D. But it's great. And it introduced people to all these cool 80s stuff and D&D stuff that a lot of people wouldn't be into. But yeah, it was great.
And the D&D played, also season 4 does this, but D&D played into the story. Like the Demogorgon does not look like the Demogorgon in this show, but it's just like what they know D&D. How are they going to rationalize this? D&D. You know, like that's what we would do. And this is a positive of mine. The characters were just simple. Not like simple, but the characters were like the foundation. I just liked them. There was no characters I really hated. Lucas at the beginning was a bit annoying, but we understood why. I just felt like every character just had its own deal, had its own thing. They were independent, but then they came together to make a really good thing. Yeah,
and their chemistry together was great as well. I mean, the chemistry of the kids with 11 was fantastic, and Hopper and Joyce, rather like competing energies, they still suit each other really well. And yes, there were some elements that the teenagers were a bit like, oh, Jonathan's a bit creepy, Steve's a bit whatever, Nancy's a bit all over the place. Still, the chemistry was great between them. And continuing on to that, I think this season has amazing character arcs, I think. I mean, Hopper's character arc of trying to save Will after, the death of his daughter, that makes you so sad. That brings tears to you because he's so desperate to save someone's child.
To make this quicker, definitely, I wrote down loss and grief shown through to the eyes of the supernatural. When no one believes it, like Joyce is going through grief of Will, but no one believes her, so she has to make herself believe. And no one like understands, and she's trying to tell Jonathan, but she doesn't believe. And Hopper telling Joyce to breathe in the Upside Down like he told his daughter, and like how that connects to him doing the resuscitation.
It's so character focused, and it's so beautiful that way. And also more with the character arcs, even the little character arcs that we don't notice are still great. Like 11, for example, sacrificing herself for her friends, her newfound friends at the very end, was a beautiful thing. And even Steve, for example, who was an asshole at the start, coming in to bat a Demogorgon or whatever was great.
He was literally me and my mom. We loved that character.
I remember before he became popular. I remember you dressed up as him for Halloween.
Yeah, for Halloween. I loved Steve. Yeah. Even when he was a dickhead, I just knew there was some humanity to him.
Yeah, and it was great because a lot of the characters have fantastic arcs, and of course there's some forgettable characters like Steve's friends that you don't really care about from the rest of the show.
Yeah, they die.
But it's great. Yeah, and I think that worked great to have these beautiful character arcs. Did you want to say something else?
I would say really quickly. I would say this is the creepiest season yet. I feel like other seasons are more graphic and more suspenseful and more like more in your face horror. This one is creepy and thrilling. Like the opening of Will being kidnapped with the suspense of what is this? What is happening? And like the suspense of like the Demogorgon music. Yeah. My favorite soundtrack of this show. It's just like the suspense of not knowing what's happening. We're not knowing what the Upside Down is. It's just such suspense and creepiness.
Yeah, and I think what's so good with that as well is there's so many twists and turns, unlike other seasons. Like other seasons have twists, but like it feels like a streamline. Like this is what we
what
this
we
is
know
the aim
and-
at the start, and towards the end we're gonna win at the end.
Yeah.
For this, there was so many twists and turns. Like when Will's body turned up, we were like,
Yeah.
"What the hell?"
Yeah.
Will's body, and that shocked us. Like
Yeah.
even we felt attached to the
Even
characters
if
when we saw that.
even if you suspected it was fake, it was still shocking.
And yeah, Will's body being found was great, but it also what was really good about the season, and there was this constant threat of like the government and Hawkins' lab
Yeah.
added to the history of the kind of show without actually having to show you. So
Yeah.
like, it made the show feel larger than it was with this whole like conspiracy with the government,
Yeah.
conspiracy with the lab, without actually having to literally show us something like Russia.
Yeah.
It made us like a grander scale of what this story is.
Yeah.
But it didn't have to show you
Yeah.
anything. You just imagined it to be
Because like,
so
why is this lab in
big.
Hawkins? And this goes into could take its time with more twists and more subtle stories. It could take its time because it didn't have to set up the next season. It does, but like in one thing, it doesn't have to set up a massive story because in this one it's its own.
Yeah, and what was great about that is that it felt also kind of like the most like real kind of season. What I mean by that is that like it makes you think a lot. Like, oh, is our government's hiding something, or is it felt like, although obviously it didn't feel real, but it made us go like, ooh, it's kind of creepy, and the mystery kind of made us think about our own societies and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a lot of what I had, because it's hard to find some pinpoint.
Just quickly, kid drama was great. Elle and the kids were amazing.
Oh.
Joyce in general, I love her character in this season especially.
One thing, Mike. He was good this season.
It was good this season.
He was great this
He did
season.
it.
He was the heart. Mikey
Clap to
boy.
Mike. Yeah,
I
Mikey.
loved Mike. He was like caring, and although he fought Lucas a couple of times, he was there for 11.
He had passion. He had plot.
He's at the very end. It's just can bring you to tears when he's crying when 11's going, and it's crazy. Like great acting from all the kids.
Yeah, I've just quick little ones. Like characters could have smaller moments that could mean bigger things because the story was already so small. Joyce in general, Hopper's backstory. This one is rewatchable.
Yeah,
it's like probably it's like not as rewatchable as season 3 maybe, but actually no, this one is really rewatchable because it's just reminiscing on what was the Demogorgon, one of my favorite creatures of all time. I love it so much.
Yeah. Should we get to some negatives?
Steve's character arc, horror, more subtle.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of negatives.
My cons are small.
Yeah, I have 2 cons, but they're not cons against the show.
Yeah.
They're just stuff like, like for example, like Steve's, one thing is like Will's dad is an asshole and a plotline that I don't really care for.
Sure.
Like I cared for it.
Yeah.
Like obviously because it was good at the time, but it was never seen again.
Yeah.
It's not that important.
Yeah.
But even then, that's not really negative against the season. Do you have like an actual negative?
An actual negative. I didn't love the ending was too quickly resolved.
Okay.
But like just the Demogorgon, just boom boom. I felt like the ending, like the finale was really good, but then the actual resolution of the ending was a bit quick, and then we got the epilogue. And it's not the biggest deal, but it's a critique that I have with it. It was just like the ending wasn't as wrapped up as I would have loved it to be, but like I'm not angry about it.
Yeah. Okay. Another negative I have is I felt this isn't even a negative.
Felt bad for Bob.
I felt bad for Bob's death, and I didn't like how like Nancy was like whatever.
Yeah,
and hooking up with Steve.
We were saying justice for Bob before it was popular. We
were there.
We were there before it was popular. Okay.
No.
I was actually.
Sure.
I remember when I first watched it, I was like, man, no one cares about Bob.
Sure. But yeah, I mean that's not really a negative against the show, but
I didn't love Nancy and Jonathan at the thing at the beginning.
Yeah.
I didn't. It just felt like this is kind of weird. Like he spied on you. He's a creepy, and then you kind of forgive him really quickly. Kind of like, it's kind of weird. And I literally the last thing I wrote was like Bob needs a funeral on camera, and I just and in brackets wrote no, that's a joke. But like I don't really have any problems with it.
Yeah.
It's season 1.
I love season 1.
Season 1's great.
Beautiful.
Nostalgic.
It's fantastic. It feels nostalgic for a time I never had.
Yeah.
And it's great. And it's fantastic. We're not going to give any ratings to any of these seasons. We might one day review the seasons. Who knows? That
When
might
season
be
5 comes out, maybe
in the lead up to season 5, we'll review season 3, season 2, season 1.
I'll maybe rewatch them.
Yeah, but that's our ranking. That's our ranking. But before you go, and if you are continuing watching from the last episode, we said we'll do a little quiz at the end. Okay.
Hello, quiz question.
Yeah. So we need to do the quiz now.
From last week.
So last week, Louis, take it away.
Last week, we asked you, Hellraiser has had many different names in different countries and regions. What was it in Taiwan? Was it Lords of Hell? Was it the Son of the Devil? Was it Cursed Fire? Was it Lords of Hell? Or was it Raise Ghosts and Eat People? I'm not sure what were the exact options because I don't really have the full list here.
Screw it. Just say the answer.
The answer. The Taiwan name was Raise Ghosts and Eat People.
Eat People.
What the fuck?
Is that even part of the movie? I don't know.
It kind of is.
Anyway, there's that. And now we're going to give you a question for Stranger Things related for next week. Fuck it. What's the name of Steve's friends?
Steve's friends.
Steve's friends. What's their names?
Tell us.
There's a boy and a girl. What are the names?
What are the names? Can you tell us?
Tell us. We
that's
don't
your
know.
homework.
Let us know.
Let us
Please
know.
comment.
Please,
what are their names? Because I don't know.
Let's give a guess.
Brandon.
Thomas. Oh, and the girl? Beatrice. No.
Brandon and Kathy.
Thomas and...
Well, I know. I read it.
Do you know?
Yeah, that's why I came up with a bunch of names.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Amanda.
Anyway,
Amanda.
Who knows? But that's that. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Thank
if
you for watching.
Watched the first one, then thank you for watching this one.
Also, we're sponsored by a special website, but we're not going to say it now. We'll just let you watch the other
Previous
one.
one.
And that was a cool website. Check it out.
Follow us on Twitter and follow us on all Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud. Wherever, give us a like from that.
Yeah. Let us know. What are your favorite episodes of Stranger Things?
Let us know.
What's your ranking? Actually, do that.
What are your rankings?
Who cares about the episodes? What is your ranking? What is your ranking of the seasons?
What is your ranking of the seasons?
Let us know. We'll love to hear it. We just don't even know if we're like 2 or 3 more. But please, thank you for watching, and have a good one.
Bye-bye.
See you later.